Family
Ooh,
Matters. Why do we got a square?
I know. I like it. I was gonna say, I kind of like it. It's kind of cool.
You like the square? You like the circle?
Well, it's different. I like different.
Alrighty. Well, that's Family Matters. Kevin Petersen. You never know what you're going to get. Anytime you tune in on Thursdays, we could be squares, we could be circles. Maybe next week will be triangles. But Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm great, Jay. How are you?
I mean, I guess I'm good. I mean, we get to help families, and sometimes families are just kind of stuck in a spiral. I'm preaching to the choir, but I've got a couple of families that are just, and rightfully so, their loved ones are driving them nuts by threatening to leave treatment every single day. So,
Well, you have those too?
I think, you know what makes me want to do this show every week is just that. Like if I can be a small piece of just a little more education or anything support, I'm all for it because families need it. Families definitely need it. So, So,
yes, they do. They are struggling.
Yeah. So, I love the new Jaywalker lid.
Yeah, man.
So
I went into the swag closet last time I was there. I'm like, oh, what's this?
See, I absolutely love my JWL hat, and I wear it probably more than I'm willing to admit. Like, I won't admit it to Jaywalker people, but I will say there was a lot of question. JWL, what is that? And so I went with a golf course. I went with ranch, and then I'm just like, it's a treatment center. And that kind of just puts the conversation to an end. So, but anyway, I do love my JWL hat, and I will continue wearing it, even if it leads to awkward conversations.
I will let them know.
No, don't. I mean, I love it. Don't get it taken away from me. So, alrighty, Kevin, what we do each and every week to the best of our ability, if we can both show up. I know Kevin's been a little under the weather, and my cat's been under the weather this past week. So I think my cat picked up what you had. But we answer questions, families, loved ones, individuals. There's no, we don't discriminate. Send us a question. If you're watching a replay, you can always type it in the questions, and we'll get to it. And you can always direct message us. I think the kids call it DM us a question, and we'll go from there. We won't use your name
on the DL.
Yep. There you go. See, you're hip with the lingo.
Well, I think I'm about 10 years behind, but yeah.
Kevin, is this just weed culture or a real problem? How do I know if they're addicted? My 2 teenage sons, mom is ultimately saying, I can't believe the conversation around THC, marijuana, whatever, weed, and how she's like, it just seems so normal. She wants to know, is this a weed culture, or how am I even knowing if my son's become addicted?
Well, the question there becomes, is he capable of stopping? And of course he's going to say, I don't want to, I don't need to, I'm fine, which to me would tell you the answer to your question. So I would, and first of all, if they're teenagers, this is terrible because it has such a dramatic long-term impact on their frontal cortex and their brain development and their cognitive delays and incidents of schizophrenia, psychosis. I mean, there's no good thing here. Okay. So let's be super clear. There's no positive in this situation whatsoever. All right. And so I would tell you, the answer is yes, they have a problem. And the fact that you have 2 teenagers that are using marijuana to the point where you're concerned about it, or the fact that they're even using marijuana, I'll be really clear with you. I think is a bad choice, And so what I would start with was saying, you live under my house, it's my rules, and the answer is no drugs, no alcohol. and we're going to do a drug test. And the first drug test we're going to get is we're going to take you to a drug testing facility and get more than positive, negative. What we're going to get is a level. And that level is going to tell us how much they're using. And then they need to get one every week. And then there needs to be consequences for them violating the deal. Read my book, Chronic Hope, Families and Addiction. It's outlined in the first couple of chapters. It's just right there. And if they're capable of putting it down and saying, you're right, this is a bad choice, I'll stop, you don't have a problem. If they, fight and kick and scream and throw a tantrum, and if they refuse to take the drug test, let's be clear, those are the answers to the questions. Stop. Don't try to negotiate. Don't try to rationalize. Don't try to reason. Don't try to compromise. Don't do any of that. You're the adult. It's your house. And in our house, people under 21 don't smoke weed. They don't drink alcohol. Next question. And you're going to have to be the parent on this one. And I don't care about the weed culture. I don't care about the neighbors. I don't care about I don't care about any of that. I care about your kid. And your kids are exhibiting signs that make me concerned. So let's address it. And let's address it now, not 3 or 4 years from now when it becomes a huge, huge issue and they're having psychotic engagements in the ER. Let's jump on it now. And I'm sorry, that's the answer.
This is going to be a good show. This is going to be a real good show. Like so often, Kevin gets on this, and you just, from my standpoint, I just want to keep him going. I mean, this is going to be a really good show.
I have a cookie. That's the problem.
We have. Well, she said she's married, so I would assume coming from a wife. And she wants to know, are psychedelics a breakthrough for mental health or just another excuse to get high, Kevin?
Okay. Oh, man, you've just been waiting for this, haven't you? The answer is yes, it is just another excuse to get high. And I guarantee you people are going to lose their shit. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh my God, mushrooms and all this stuff made my life better. Is there a fraction of a percent of a population that probably has such severe PTSD through war or trauma that it might actually, microdosing might actually help them? Sure. There are no long-term studies that prove any of that whatsoever. None. Are they being done? Sure. Are they being sponsored by the people selling the drugs? Sure. So, that's the answer. And the answer is, no, this is a terrible idea. Now, are there certain people, and let's be clear, right? So when we take a population of 100,000, there's probably 5 people that it's a good idea for. And your husband ain't one of them, that's the answer she's looking for, and that's the answer. Now, here's the thing. Again, you should buy my book, and and lay down some boundaries, and just be like, no, I'm not okay with this. I want you to. Does he need help? Does he have? Sure. Has he got mental health issues? Great. Let's figure out some alternatives. If he doesn't want to take traditional medication, that's fine. There are alternatives to that. There's all sorts of therapeutic alternatives. But this idea, all you're doing is replacing one drug with another. So I'm sorry, you don't get to sell me on the whole, I'm not comfortable taking drugs. Oh, okay, then don't take drugs. Any of them. Oh, well, no, these are natural. Yeah, and completely unregulated. And you have no idea what you're taking. And no. Don't buy that. Don't buy the crap. Don't buy the lie. That's just complete nonsense. And I'm sure, the trolls are going to come after me for that. And that's fine. They can come after me all they want. Because, until you can show me long-term studies that prove the efficacy of using microdosing to solve these problems and that the people's lives actually get better, I'm not buying it and I'm not believing it. And that's just all there is to it. Sorry. Next question.
Well, they have all these blogs and everything that talk about the success rates, though. Come on, Kevin. I think you're ignoring self-written blogs.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I am. I am, Jay, because they're crap. You know, and you know, it's oh my god. You know.
I love this, Kevin. I mean, we should get more of this, Kevin, but
Okay, you got
so
it.
there's this,
Polite, I'll leave polite Kevin at home.
let me ask you let me this is a long email. Let's just basically, you have a situation where bills are being paid, everything in their lives are, the boxes are checked, but obviously there's some issues that she's gone far into, but leaves this as this. I mean, she could have just let off with, they say, my husband, let's just say they say they have high functioning addiction. Is that even a real thing? You hear high functioning alcoholic, you can now do it to addiction, and this is something I get on all the time. I'm dealing with two people in treatment that think that they don't belong, and they go to work, bills are paid and everything like that. So Kevin, I ask you, is high functioning addiction a thing?
No, absolutely not. By definition, if you are struggling with addiction, that
Addiction isn't
means
even in the name of this, high functioning addiction.
yeah. I mean, there you go. My favorite one is where this comes from, right? Is somebody will say, "Oh yeah, I was raised by my dad. He was a functional alcoholic." I'm like, "Well, there's no such thing." Well, he went to work every day and he provided really well for us. We had a nice life. I'm like, "Yeah, how was your relationship with him?" "Oh, I don't have one."
Yeah.
"How was his relationship with your mom?" "Oh no, it's the thing I always say is, do you want his relationship with his wife? Is that something you would find attractive? No. Do you want his life? No. Just because he goes to work and makes money doesn't make it okay. Boy, if that isn't a statement on our society, you know, that's the priority at all costs, make money and be okay. And it's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. We can do so much more. That you're setting the bar so low. By definition, when we come to addiction and alcoholism, you can't be functioning and be an addict or an alcoholic. Have a conversation with this person. Tell them you love them and that you don't have a relationship with them, or it's very superficial, and you want more, and you'd like things to change and get better, and you'd like to help, and let's start with let's just take the next week off from everything altogether, and let's see how it goes. And if you can't do that, if that's something you are not capable of doing, of taking a week off, or asking your partner to take a week off, then get some help, get some therapy. Go to, maybe for you individually, try some Al-Anon or Codependence Anonymous. See how that works out. Offer to your loved one, hey, look, let's go see a therapist together and talk about this. Not because I want to penalize you. I'm not calling you into the principal's office. And any therapist that does that kind of therapy, shame on them. That's crap. What you want to say is, I love you and I want to get you help. Our relationship is falling apart because you're drunk or high. And that doesn't work for me. And I want that to change. If you don't want to change, that's on you. And then we can just move on. But I'm not buying into this. So, yeah.
Well, we got the weed culture, and we got really the kind of the theme that I took from these questions is just kind of how normalized we have for things to get outside yourself or further away from self. So, and we're making it socially acceptable in the sense because, it's like they're looking from the outside and they're not looking on the inside. So I think that's really a society issue. Like, hey, here's this newest thing. Look on social media. This will slim you down. This will change your attitude. This will, get you 1,000 likes or 1,000 followers. I mean, and that will change, so anything to get outside of self is becomes so normal. So,
yeah. And just the fact that, like you said, you're going to go onto social media to look for this stuff. Okay, well, social media in itself is that's the gateway drug, right? You know, and that leads you to whatever it is that gets you to stop feeling the way you're feeling, you know.
So
And that's the primary issue, is that why are you trying to alter your reality? Why is that necessary? You know, why, you know, I mean, if I had a partner, business partner or romantic partner, that every night when they came home had to slug down 3 or 4 vodkas in order to get through the night, I would be like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know, we don't have a relationship. You know, your relationship's with the alcohol or the weed or the coke or the heroin. You know, I'm just the person that's cleaning the house and cooking the food. You know, that's not a relationship. So,
well, I think you nailed it there. I mean, there's
yeah,
relationships in general, or anyway. So
yeah, yeah. Sometimes you got to call the shot. I mean, the thing. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, I mean, we can say all this stuff, and I get it. I mean, you know how I feel. Here's what's going to response back from the family is they don't want to get into the conflict. They don't want to get into the fight. And I understand that. I totally understand that, because you're going to get huge pushback. And there's going to be threats, and there's going to be finger pointing, and there's going to be yelling and insults and accusations. And that's why I'm saying you should go see somebody. Go see a therapist that understands addiction and understands family dynamics and couples, and just sit them down and say, I love you. I want a relationship with you, but I can't have one because you're doing this, you know? So
so it's almost like, just hearing you talk. I mean, the first thought that came in my head is like it's almost like our communication styles now is to communicate without trying to start a fight. You know, or take offense to have someone take offense to it, and then the flip side of that is people not being open-minded to have an open dialogue, and then just instantly get defensive. So I think communication just is anyway. I need to
yeah.
be better. I know that.
Well, I mean, we've gotten to the point where it's either we sit there and we get along and we don't say anything and we just put up with whatever nonsense is going on, or we're combative. You know, we've lost the ability on a micro and a macro level to have a conversation where we don't agree on everything, you know, which is really sad. You know, we've lost the ability to be in a space where it's like, hey, just want to let you know that, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree with that. You know, I still like you, but I don't agree with that. You know, but we've gotten so polarized, you know, and that we can't have that initial conversation. And so people are like, well, I'll just shut up and not say anything. And it's very passive aggressive, right? I'll shut up and not say anything, and then I'll just, you know, disappear from your life and never talk to you again. You know, it's like, well, okay, and, you know, why don't you just speak up and say, you know, again, I love you, but I'm not okay with this behavior. This behavior scares me. You know, and I don't feel like we have a real authentic relationship because of X, Y, Z. You know,
Yeah. I mean,
but that,
it's the heart of every intervention call that I get or anything like that is families do not want to, like, I just don't want to upset him. I just think that if the family came together and started pointing these out, he would just get very upset. And I was like, well, how is it going up to this point? So welcome to the intervention talk. Like, no one wants to have these tough conversations to fight for people's lives because they just may respond very, I mean,
yep.
it's like they may cut off communication with me. Well, that's, like I literally just had a call yesterday. Well, how's communication up to this point? Oh, well, we don't really talk. So what happens if it, oh, well, he cuts off communication, but at least you say your piece. So
Well, and then the initial lineup of the conversation was like, well, is there such a thing as functional addiction? And you say, how's the communication? Well, we don't talk. That's not functional. Okay. That's, you don't get it both ways. You know?
well, I think it's very interesting, even when you're outlining that, which you did so great. Like if you look at that, and we don't know about his father or anything, but a lot of times they rate, like my dad was the same way, and you ask these questions about relationship with family and wife, and it sounds like this guy's going through the exact same thing with his current wife. So it's repeating. So
Funny how
anyway,
that works. Mhm.
yeah. It does. It does repeat. So, alrighty. Well, I unfortunately do not want to get this Kevin away, but maybe, just maybe, we can kickstart him for next week. So,
I promise you, this Kevin will show up. Kevin 2.0 will show up and speak his mind and not be professorial or gentle. It'll be very much, hey, let's cut the crap and get to the good stuff.
aren't your USC women kind of like undefeated #1?
Actually, UCLA is undefeated #1.
Oh, that's my bad.
They haven't
I
played
took a
us.
shot there. I wasn't sure what. Anyway, but
Jay, that's the
sometimes you
public
just gotta take
school.
a shot. Sometimes you just gotta take a shot, Kevin.
That's the public school, Jay.
Oh my God! Speaking of trolls, let's get you out of here before. God damn.